Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Feeding the Family. I am your host, Jill Trotterman, streaming live on Santa Cruz Voice, santacruzvoice.com from beautiful Santa Cruz County. So, what happens when a farmer, a chef, and a nutritionist walk into a school? Well, lots of kale, happy faces, and healthy kids is what happens. But we all know, sadly, right now in the United States, many kids are struggling with health issues, mental health issues, physical, emotional health, all kinds of stuff's going on. In fact, 1 in 8 people are food insecure and may have lack of access to consistent, regular, healthy, fresh foods. But since kids spend so much time at school, including their lunch hour, what is a better way to introduce them to fabulous foods and through a school lunch program? So today we are digging in to the trend of bringing local healthy foods via farm to school programs to our nation's children. I am talking with Juliet Siu, Jeff Pala, and Scott Felgner from the Live Oak School District in Santa Cruz, California. So welcome, you guys.
Hi there.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. I have all these fabulous people in the studio, so I'm really excited to see your faces, and it's a great thing because you're local, so you can pop right in. So if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to read a little bit about you guys, okay? First, we're going to start off with Jeff Paula, and he is the farm to school manager for the school district, where he leverages a rich background in garden-based education to lead the district's emerging farm initiative. Jeff brings 13 years of experience managing the iconic Edible Schoolyard project in Berkeley. I think a lot of people know that program, and helping to shape immersive learning through garden to kitchen programming. And Jeff's also worked with Life Lab, and he is a partner to bring all of these great experiences to the kids. And then next up, we've got Scott Felgner, who is the brigade chef for the Live Oak School District. And Scott serves where he shares his culinary experience with a passion for nourishing students through scratch-cooked meals. Now, I just wonder how many people out there even know what cooking from scratch means anymore, because it sounds like an old-fashioned term, so I definitely want to talk to you guys about that. But Jeff, I know for a fact, is passionate about building up a healthy community and nourishing our children through this great, amazing program that they've started. And then finally is Juliet Siu, and she is stepping in place of the current director of nutrition for Live Oak School District. Her name is Kelsey Pruse. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today. So in her stead, we have Juliet Siu, and she also, from what I understand, is a dietitian nutritionist. And would you like to share a little bit about yourself? Because I don't have your bio with me. I'm so sorry.
So I am a dietitian. I started in school food about 4 years ago with the goal of improving the meal that most kids eat every day.
Awesome. All right. So now you're working at the Live Oak School District, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the three of you is a unique combination to have. And personally, I was involved when I was a young mom in our kids' school Life Lab program. And this was a big passion. And I want to say, like, we were at the beginning, those were many years ago, of trying to get healthy foods into the kids' school lunches. And it was almost impossible. There was so much red tape and all kinds of problems, I want to say. You know, it was a struggle. And so for me to have you three here is like, it happened. And it's happening. I'm getting the chills. I really am. Because what you're representing here in Santa Cruz County can be the model through the United States. And I know a lot of other nations already do this. And being one of the wealthiest yet sickest countries on the planet, there is such a disconnect. How does that even make sense? So today it is really a thrill to have the three of you here. So thank you very much. So where do we start? Let's start with, obviously your mission is wellness, nutrition education, and academic skills that tie into all these concepts, and also having the children just enjoy this wonderful food just purely as food, right? And California in the last 4 years shifted to something called the Universal Free Meals. is that associated to why you guys started this 1 acre farm? Yes, it is. Who would like to share? You want to start?
Yeah, I can start. So, California was actually the first state in the country to pass universal meals. And so far there's 10, I mean, no, nine. Nine states who have universal school meals. But it's really cool being in California and leading the way. And I think it's really opened the door for things like school farms and more farm to school. Particularly because California, along with making universal school meals, also provided schools with KIT funding, which is kitchen, infrastructure, and training funds. So California noticed that we were getting an increase in participation in school meals now that it was universal, and they wanted to see improvements in those school meals. So we were able to invest in getting a chef like Scott into our program, helping improve the quality of meals. We also got a lot of money for local foods, which helped us improve our procurement practices, getting more farm to school, local farm to school, and not even just for our vegetables and fruits, but also we get local milk. We try to get local proteins and just keeping things really local.
And this is was this a national thing? No, this is a California initiative,
California,
right?
mm-hmm.
Because nationwide, some school districts have a really hard time incorporating maybe, glom eggs from down the street. Yet
Right.
here they have this like great source, but they can't. So this is really unique in California is what you're sharing with me, right?
It is, yeah.
Juliet? Okay.
Yeah, and it's really cool. And like you said, I do think it should be a model for other states. And even what we're doing here in Santa Cruz should be a model across the states. And yeah, so it's been really cool to see the increase in funding in school meals, which has allowed us to really improve our farm to school program, improve our scratch cooking, and really improve the student experience in the cafeteria.
So this is a huge win.
Definitely.
Yeah. How long has this been implemented?
So it started in I think it was the 21-22 school year that federally we stopped the universal meals, and California pretty much stepped in and was like, no, we're going to continue it.
Okay.
And so super quick background on how school meals are funded. They're funded federally through the National School Lunch Program and the School Breakfast Program, but they only cover a certain percentage of the food costs or of the meals, and it depends on your family status. So, I'm sure you've heard of like free and reduced kids and whatnot. And so basically what California said is for the rest of the funding that the federal government isn't going to supply, California is going to supply that. And so that's how we've been able to have universal meals.
Wow, neat. Did you want to chime into this, Jeff?
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to add was that before the system was free and reduced, right? Seemingly served all needs. If you couldn't afford it, you got a free meal. If you could afford it a little bit, you had a reduced price. And if you could afford the full rate, you paid the full rate. One thing that we noticed when it went to universal free, everyone ate for free, school food participation went way up. And so there's a question of why did that happen? Was there a stigma around getting some kind of reduced priced meal or a free meal, or how was that distributed in a way that students felt safe around getting that free meal? So when your school food participation goes up, because it's a reimbursement program, we're actually getting more money. And with more money, we can do more creative and interesting food.
Yeah, I think there is a stigma. I don't have any studies in front of me regarding that exact topic, but I do believe that children would rather not eat the school free meal if other children were not also participating in it. They just forgo and be hungry.
Right.
So now that everyone has access, you're saying everyone across the board
Everyone
can eat this.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
Okay.
this is free for all students across the state, and
Right.
no one has to bring any money to school.
Wow,
for
and the
school
parents are
food.
probably thrilled. And then the food is 1,000% better.
Exactly.
So it went
Yeah.
from a bad scenario to good.
Yeah.
Like it's a win-win-win for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And then it looks like our chef got a job out of the deal.
That's right.
Right? Yeah, like let's talk into this mic here. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think.
And welcome.
Oh yeah, hi.
Hi.
I think one thing is as those meals start to go up, of course, you need to have the capacity to prepare those meals, and I think an impulse could be that you find something easier to prepare, but really what we were trying to do and what Brigade tries to do is by being in school districts, we can try and push to keep doing more and more scratch cooking, which is kind of a hard thing to define. There's many things that could be scratch or speed scratch.
Yeah, can you share, because I was kind of making a little bit of a joke about that.
Sure.
Scratch cooking.
Yeah.
For anyone under 20,
Yeah.
this is what our grandparents used to do a million years ago.
I think even I'm a little confused sometimes when you look to define scratch cooking, but you can think about something like a quesadilla. If you're not really preparing the tortilla or like making your own cheese, but you are still assembling that. So that would be something that would be categorized in the speed scratch category. And then there's something like today we were working on a barbacoa and we were cooking beef from scratch. So that's like more of a fully scratch prepared item.
Okay, so you're getting like a hunk of meat, and then you're
That's right.
cutting it and stewing it, or doing whatever you're doing with that
Yeah, that's right.
cuisine. That sounds very exotic
Yeah, right.
for our elementary school kids.
Yeah. Well,
It's not hamburgers and hot dogs anymore, is
yeah,
it?
we do mix in some hot dogs, but
Okay.
but yeah, we try to balance it out because some of these things like we're just not at that capacity to tackle, but we bit by bit we want to keep pushing and trying to get our scratch percentage higher and higher, and that's something that actually Kelsey and Juliet have worked on for the last 4 years, I guess. Mm-hmm. Getting that number from about 30% scratch cooked to now we're right around 60%.
Wow.
So with the help of Universal Meals, by getting kit funding, and then all of us working hard to try to get that number and keep pushing it up.
To me, 60% is so far exceeding just what a normal American adult family would eat. When 90% of all of our food is coming from packages, and most people now just assemble. Like
Yeah.
you mentioned, like that's a lot of people just cooking, like opening a can, like I made dinner.
That's right.
But so for scratch cooking, it sounds, I don't know why I'm hanging on to this because I'm kind of interested, but
Yeah.
I know there's a million things that we can talk about. But this is important because we're teaching the kids about where food is coming from, right? And so now that we set the stage of the three of you who are really anchors in this program, plus Kelsey, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people, teachers and other staff that are there, the experience for the children, because clearly you're coming with passion and intuition of knowing what needs to happen for the future of our children. But the kids, they don't know what they're getting involved in. What things have you noticed over the last year of bringing the children to the garden, their food experiences, if they're eating more different types of food, like the one that you just mentioned, the beef, that they might not have access to, right?
Yeah. I think that's one thing that we've really tried to not just preparing the meals, but also trying to introduce some of these things more slowly. Mm-hmm. So we try to systematically do taste tests where we go and we can be at the schools, and if we have something that maybe some of the students are not familiar with, we can do a little small batch for them just to try it maybe the week before it's going to be on the menu.
Okay.
And especially for fruits and vegetables, something that maybe, like we just had persimmons this week, and a lot of kids are not used to persimmons, so that is a great example of something that we like really need to introduce it ahead of time so that they are familiar by the time it's on the lunch line.
I think that is brilliant. Families could incorporate this too, right? And so, Juliet, what do you think about that strategy?
Yeah, so that's definitely been kind of one of the pillars of what we do. I think going into school food and trying to improve the meals, one of the first things you see is that students are like, what is that? I don't want that, And in the lunch line, they have about 30 seconds to pick what they're going to eat. So if they see something new, they're obviously going to go with something else because they're like, I don't know what that is. I'm hungry. I'm not going to try that right now. So doing taste tests has definitely been a huge thing that really helped us expand our students' taste buds and be open to trying new things. And having a garden and a farm now is a huge part of that because not only do they get to taste it, but they get a whole experience with it, which I think Jeff can add on to.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about, so there's like many different stages because there's the intellectual thing because you could teach a kid like X, Y, and Z is important for this reason. Then Scott can cook it and the kids can eat it, and then Jeff is growing it. So it's like all of these different factors are coming in. Now I have to say I had the great pleasure of having a tour of your farm before I had you guys in, and I was laughing because Jeff gets a phone call like, it's urgent. The kale needs to get to the kitchen. We need the kale. And I thought that was the funniest thing, that the chef's calling the school gardener to get the kale. I thought I was having a dream or a hallucination. So tell us.
That's how it works. That's how it works.
Right?
So I just want to back up a minute and
Please.
give a shout out to an organization called Life Lab.
100%.
Life
Yeah.
Lab, the nonprofit, is here in Santa Cruz County, and because they've been active in Santa Cruz County for some 40 years now, this county is rich with school gardens. There's almost a school garden in every elementary school in our county, and many of those gardens have paid educators in those spaces.
Right.
And so that's a huge platform to be standing on right there.
For sure.
And so in our district, the Live Oak School District, we have 4 schools in the district, and we have 4 gardens and 4 garden educators. And so we're utilizing those outdoor classrooms and those educators to help promote food that students would see in the cafeteria. Mm-hmm. So for example, with the persimmons example, what we're going to do as a central kitchen is we're going to cut up the persimmons and then send them out to the garden sites, and then the garden educators will taste them with their students in the garden setting. And keep in mind that these outdoor classroom garden settings are these incredible magical spaces for the students, and they really feel safe in these spaces. And if there was any space on campus where they were going to feel comfortable to try a new food, that's it. It's in those garden classrooms. It's with those garden teachers, which they look up to so much. And so we're going to leverage that to introduce new foods in that setting, so that, to Juliet's point, when they get into the lunch line, and it's really just like you walk through and grab your stuff as you were walking through. You have no time to think or contemplate. That's not the space that we have to educate people on new foods either. So that kind of food education, nutrition education stuff needs to be done outside of the lunch line.
I see.
So that they come in informed and they can make an informed choice when they get in there.
I think that's an excellent point to really highlight, is that you kind of have to do the precursor, the cursory stuff first. You can't expect a child, any child for that matter, takes many, many tastes, like up to 10, 12 exposures
Exactly.
to have a new food experience and to like it.
Yeah.
So I can see where the due diligence is the education beforehand. So you, the chef Scott, doesn't feel discouraged when no one eats your fancy empanadas that you slaved over.
Yeah.
And why didn't everyone eat that?
It's so true. So you can make the best food in the world, and if nobody eats it, you've accomplished what?
Exactly.
So we really need that food education piece is a huge part of our work.
Huge thing. Now, are there foods that you've tried so many times and kids don't want to come back? And what are the ones that kids are like, yeah, this is on the menu, so excited?
I think one example I always think of is the curry chicken that I made.
Curry chicken?
Yeah, so it's a Japanese curry chicken. I grew up eating it as a little kid, and I was a picky eater. So I was actually my first year working in schools, and I was like, let's try this. I loved it as a kid, and worked on making this like scratch-made curry sauce, and then brought it into we even did a taste test with this one, and it was pretty popular. But then we ended up serving it, and as the menu kind of continued, it showed that the kids were taking less and less of the curry sauce and just chicken and rice.
Okay.
But I think that was a good lesson for me. That and then a good example, I think today we served a tomato soup with like cheesy breadsticks. And that was because we used to serve something called Bosco sticks, which I'm sure a lot of people listening have had because they might have remembered them from their school lunch program. But it's a Tyson product. It's just a breadstick with basically a cheese stick inside. And it was served with canned marinara sauce.
Mm-hmm. And some extra preservatives, I would imagine.
Yeah, so I thought, why don't we...
I'm going to throw Tyson under the bus, okay?
Right, yeah.
We're not a fan of that. Chicken grower.
I mean, it's, it is a crowd pleaser. The kids do like it, and kids have liked it for many years. But I was thinking, like, maybe this is something that we could try and, like, elevate a little bit.
Yeah, I like that. Elevate it.
So I made a tomato soup, and then we get these pizza sheets from a local bakery. They do a lot of par baked stuff for us, which is a great shortcut for like a speed scratch item, and it's a hit. The kids love it. They get tomato soup and cheesy breadsticks.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a winning one.
Yeah.
And Juliet, as a nutritionist, a nutrition educator, you have in your mind, I'm sure, and through working with the school government situation, that you have to go through massive lists and adhere to certain nutrient profiles, I would imagine, with getting enough proteins and certain fats. And I know the U.S. government does not probably promote butter and whole milk, right? So,
Correct.
but maybe in your own personal education, you might feel differently. How do you square all those issues that you have to navigate?
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of guidelines we have to stick to in
Guidelines,
order to be reimbursed for the school meals. And I think the way we try to navigate it is really just through balance. For example, the cheesy breadsticks and tomato soup today. I think if you look at it standalone, the cheesy breadsticks look like they're high in sat fat. So it's cheese, it's bread, it's, but we pair it with a tomato soup that the kids love, and so it kind of brings that balance. And so most things that we go into, we try to follow the guidelines the best we can and just kind of add our own upgrades to them.
Okay, good. So, for instance, with the bread, you can make it organic, for instance, or
Right.
make it half whole grains.
Yes,
So it's
yeah.
not all whole, so you can start turning the kids on to something that tastes more complex in their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
The mouthfeel with kids is really important, right? So you do have a lot of guidelines that you have to jump through. That's why I would have a hard time, I think, working with the school district.
Yeah.
Actually, part of it is
But-
like for me anyway, like with any job that I've been in, if it's like a restaurant or a bakery, like you are working with some types of constraints.
Right,
Like
right.
they exist in any industry.
Fair. Yeah.
And
Institution.
you learn the box that you have to work within, and you can do the best you can. And then over, a greater time scale is when we could, like through legislation and speaking with our politicians, we might be able to push it towards a direction that we feel more like personally drawn to.
Absolutely.
But in the meantime, we'll do the best we can in the box we're working in.
Yeah, and for the box that you guys are in, it's pretty mind-blowing. I think you're really pushing the boundaries of the box, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
The cookie, the food, the bag of food,
Yeah.
essentially. Do you want to share? You got something?
Well, I just wanted to point out that
This is Jeff, the gardener.
that Kelsey Peruse, our director of Child
Yeah.
Nutrition Services in Live Oak, has really assembled this team, us and others, to come together and elevate the quality of school food. And this is not the school food that you may remember from your childhood. It is changed for the better.
Right.
And so to have that vision to say, hey, I want a school farm in this district. Hey, I want to bring in a professional chef to help us elevate our systems and our recipes. And we're also tapping into the educators in the school gardens and just kind of creating this team that can all work towards a common goal, which essentially is a generation of healthy eaters. We want people to be introduced to fresh food so that they can make an informed choice when they're older and hopefully incorporate more fresh food in their diet as adults if they've experienced that as a child. That's really the mission distilled down.
And already you have made massive strides considering like what was going on just a few years ago, right? So right now what you're doing is having organic food in a garden and their kids are eating it minutes from being harvested.
In some cases, it is minutes from being harvested.
Right? Did they eat all the kale in the garden? Because that was a lot of kale.
Yeah, we sent in about two cases, about 12 pounds that day. We picked another 12 pounds yesterday, so every week we're picking
Right.
kale.
Yeah, we fold it into our salads, and then we make a kale pesto. So can take a large volume of kale, actually.
I bet it does. So I want to hear more about the recipes you're using and who's coming up with the recipes. And I really want to hear more about what the kids are feeling when they're in that whole experience. So Please hold on, folks. We're going to take a quick commercial break. I'm Jill Trotterman. This is Feeding the Family. Okay, folks, we are back. I'm your host, Jill Trotterman, streaming live on SantaCruzVoice.com. This is Feeding the Family. And I've got the folks in from Live Oak School District. That's a school district in Santa Cruz County. And they really are pioneers in bringing farm-grown food to the school lunch table. And these 3 people are actually doing it. They're educating the kids, they're cooking the food, and they're growing the food. And not only that, they're getting the kids into the garden. So it's not like, hey, that's really neat out there. The kids are not just looking at it, they're actively participating. And I think that's probably really the winner factor of getting the kids to buy into this long term. These are habits that they're going to have for life. They'll always remember this. So you guys have a couple things. There's a thing called Food Lab. Do you want to share about that, Juliet?
Yeah. So Food Lab is something we actually got from Pacific Elementary over in Davenport. They've been doing it for quite some time now. And the model is to have students in the kitchen preparing the school food. And that not only gives them life skills, makes them feel empowered and all those things, but then they're in the cafeteria telling their friends, like, I cooked this, you need to try this. And so they become advocates for our program. And it's a really cool experience because, as we've mentioned, we have our farm and our gardens where the students do participate in planting food and harvesting it. So not only do they get to see it grow, but then they get to be part of the preparation, and they see it all the way until it goes into the compost. So they get the whole cycle of it.
It's a full cycle. I think that's why kids really do have buy-in with that. And what are your experiences with the Food Lab?
Yeah, so I've been kind of
This is Scott, the chef.
Yeah, so I've been teaching the students in Food Lab. Mm-hmm. We get about 6 to 8 students that can be in the kitchen, and they'll come in for like an hour, and I'll give them tasks to help with to further our production for the week, for the meals that we're preparing. The challenge with it is trying to like keep it interesting, but while seeing what it's like to do like really high volume production, because I think sometimes we end up doing a lot of the same things really like day to day. But
right, like chopping tomatoes for salsa, that's going to take quite a lot of chopping.
That's right. Yeah, actually, that's a very good example. That was happening earlier this year. We were just cutting tomatoes every class.
Right.
But I think it's a great experience for these students, and they can get kind of a CTE, right? Kind of a technical training, and which could be applicable. And then actually the first thing that they do when they come into class is they get a food handler's card, an official food handler's card that they can actually take to any restaurant business around Santa Cruz, and they can apply for a job and already have one step taken care of.
Yeah, so this is just even more exciting. So now they're also getting vocational training. Mm-hmm. So they can learn knife skills, kitchen etiquette, right?
Yeah.
Like behind chef, or how do they address you as chef in the kitchen?
Actually, yeah, that's also part of
Is he a tough? Is he like Ramsey? You're going to earn a reputation, Jeff. I mean, Scott.
I think I'm a pretty kind chef.
Okay.
But that is actually a part of our first day is learning kitchen etiquette and how we communicate with each other and making sure that everything's safe.
Right. But don't you think that the kids get so much self-esteem from this and validation of their skills and their competency, and that you're asking them to raise themselves up to standards that maybe other people don't set for them? I'm not saying that they don't, but I'm just saying you guys are like, this is what we're doing. And I think it just improves their whole energy, and then that gets transmitted out to society, right? I'm a big fan. Can you tell? I just love this. So tell me.
So we actually have a personal story around this.
Okay.
Our daughter was in the class, Food Lab, at Del Mar, and then she went on to get a food service job and become a lead in the restaurant.
How about that?
And that was the very next year after that class experience. So it does teach valuable life skills that they can apply in the workforce.
I appreciate that. Yeah, my whole thing is educate, empower, inspire. To make just the whole deal. Mind, body, spirit.
Yeah.
Juliet, did you find that kids are really vibing off of that too?
Absolutely. I think they get to see what they can do. A lot of the cool things I think they enjoy is baking. We've got a great baker here, a great teacher. So, and a lot of them come back and tell us that they've tried these things at home now, and now they're cooking at home and they're cooking for their family and they're so excited about it. So I think it just gets them more interested in food, which is so important, and makes them feel more empowered.
And the parents must get involved. All the parents love this program? Are there any parents who are not my kid in the garden? No, I'm sure not.
No, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the feedback we hear from parents and families is really positive.
I bet. Great.
You know, for example, there's a guy doing the food lab class right now, and his grandma is the manager at Gail's Bakery.
Okay.
And
That's so neat.
she has recounted that now he's helping cook dinners. When prior to the class, he wasn't doing that. And so it's really rewarding to hear those kinds of stories from the home.
Yeah, it's making me reflect on kids knew how to do things 150 years ago, like build things and cook and kill, slaughter, milk goats, X, Y, and Z. And I think that's cost us as a society. Mm-hmm. And now we're re-empowering the students and people in general to do things. And then I'm just speculating, of course, they're eating healthy food, they're going to feel better.
Yeah.
Emotionally, mentally, right?
Absolutely.
And so you're saying that schools are the biggest restaurant in the United States.
Yes.
So that's like a big statement, isn't it?
Yes. By far, probably the largest restaurant in the country. And I think what's great about school food, and somewhat offshoot, but that we're not in competition with each other. So all over California, we've been in contact with other districts. We share the recipes we do. Other districts share their recipes with us, and we all together are trying to elevate the program. And with being the largest restaurant in the country, that comes with a lot of buying power. And that's something that we think about now too. Instead of just buying everything from Tyson or these huge companies, we want to buy more local. And so really making a hyper local kind of farm to school setting. And we're lucky to have Jeff, who's got great connections within the farming community around us. And not only just produce, but like I said earlier, like proteins and milk and things like this that we can get locally. Why not? You know, why are we getting it from thousands of miles away when we have all these things right here in California?
100%. Like not even overseas.
Yeah.
'Cause I think we get a lot of beef from Brazil. So, anyways. But chickens popped into my mind. Like eggs and chickens.
Right.
Maybe the kids could have chickens? Is that a little...
We probably
animal
don't have
husbandry?
I don't think we have the capacity to have enough chickens to provide it for the entire district.
Right.
But we have Mary's Chicken, which is, not super, super local, but it's here in Northern California.
Okay.
And just like things like that, we try to keep things as local. And we actually started a great partnership with the Live Oak Farmers Market, which I think Jeff can talk more about, but it's, I think, something a lot of districts can look into is partnering with their local farmers market and trying to get that extra produce and into their schools. For
sure. We have so many farmers markets on, I think, any given day, except maybe Monday. Right?
Yeah. So it's the Santa Cruz Community Farmers Market.
Right.
And we have an arrangement with them where we have basically a buying program with them.
Brilliant.
And it works out beautiful for us. So from the school side of the fence, we have one purveyor. That's the Santa Cruz Community Farmers Market, the management. And then they go around to the different vendors, and they actually source the food from a half dozen to a dozen different vendors. And then, so we pay one invoice to the Santa Cruz Farmers Market, and then they work with a half dozen to a dozen vendors. And that's a great setup for us. And it's kind of a win-win, so that the farmers market vendors can get more business by selling to an institution like schools.
Right.
And we ask for a slightly cheaper price, but we make up for it in consistency, and we're ordering large quantities. You know, just to give you an idea, we go through about 1,000 pounds of fruit every week. served to our students, and we are a relatively small district. Imagine what Pajaro Valley Unified to our south would do.
Right, or LA.
Or
Because I think
LA.
Santa Cruz is the
Some of
second
the-
smallest county
Yeah.
in California.
Yeah. So some of these larger districts, you get the sense of just how much buying power is
Sure.
out there, and
Right.
what if we could redirect some of those buying dollars to local businesses, small businesses? We could have a major economic impact to our communities.
This is a fabulous point. Really, you're pushing your antenna like the Venn diagram. It's really circling so many different aspects of our food culture, our food system. I know some farmers personally, and one of their best things is when they can sell to somebody consistently, like when they get a restaurant contract.
Right.
But restaurants, depending on the size, can only go through so much food. But a school district, and especially like when you mentioned that, Juliet, that the schools in the United States, that's a lot of buying power. And where do we want to put that money? Because our money, we're a consumeristic nation, so we can make a lot of influence.
So keep in mind, we serve breakfast, lunch, and what we call supper, which is like an after-school snack.
Really?
And so that's 3 meals a day that we're serving to our students. So how many meals a day do we say that we serve? Is it over 2,000?
Yeah.
It's over 2,000 meals a day, just in our little district.
Wow, 2,000 meals.
Every day.
It's hard to imagine that.
It's hard to imagine how
That's a lot of dishes.
how much food is flowing through schools in the
Right.
United States. It's
Right.
an incredible thing.
Seriously. And then you have a composting program, so I'm a big fan of the end of life cycle.
Yeah.
Ends up in the compost, and then the worms, and then you improve the soil.
Right.
Integrative pest management. So clearly you're not using pesticides or Roundup on your crops.
No.
Good.
A resounding no.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're in the same choir.
Yeah. Thanks for checking
Okay. All right, that's so good
Yeah.
because I'm so into all that kind of stuff. So we got the parents involved, we got the kids involved. So what are some other favorite things on the menu, and what can you share with other counties, not just in the United States? I mean, not just here in California, but in the nation. So what are some winning recipes aside from the? I think you said tomato soup and breadsticks, because everybody loves that.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And how can other school districts implement these programs?
Yeah, I think, I think that you really have to focus on your kind of demographic. It's hard to say like any one thing would work out. But I mean, like our pozole is like a huge hit every year.
And that's a Spanish dish, right?
Yeah,
Is
so
it?
it's a Mexican dish. It's
pork?
It's a pork stew.
Okay.
With like lots of chilies in it, dried chilies, and I'm not sure if that would work out all over the country. So it's like that's the kind of interesting thing is that it's very specific, regional specific.
Okay,
But I
because
do-
we're in a very Latin influenced culture here, at least in our county.
Yeah.
But over the hill,
For sure.
in Silicon Valley, which we are just 30 minutes from, that is like a massive Asian cultures are over there. Indians and
Yeah,
Chinese and Koreans and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we have colleagues over there, and we kind of discuss. Sometimes I'm a little jealous that they're like serving like chana masala, and like, well, I want to try that. But,
Right. And they like the chicken curry over there.
yeah, exactly.
But they're going to try the pozole, and they're going to be like, no, that was a fail.
Yeah.
But this is a good point to see like cultural what kids are what they're exposed to. Like I didn't have a burrito. Well, no, I did because I grew up in Arizona. But a lot of people don't eat different cultured foods. So
But I think some of the things that we do are reproducible, like working with the farmers market, and even like it is a big step, but starting your own farm. There's some good examples in Morgan Hill, Santa Clara. They have actually large farms that are producing for their school lunch programs. So there's a way. If there's a will, there's a way, I guess.
well, it takes a lot of vision.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
just tending one apple tree is cumbersome and takes a lot of time and energy. And then I saw Jeff out there in the farm, and I'm sure you have helpers
Yes, we do.
because that's a lot of work. At first I saw like a little garden, and I'm like, this looks just like a demonstration garden. And then I saw the real acre.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's serious.
So essentially what we've done is we've taken an unused softball field and we've converted it into a production farm for vegetables. Just for the sports people out there, this baseball field was not used for over a decade, so we didn't actually take out an active field.
Okay.
But we did convert it. We did convert it into a farm field to produce vegetables, and we're doing it in a very similar way that a larger farm would produce vegetables, but it's just in micro scale. So it's definitely not gardening. We are production farming on this space, and so we're using a tractor. Things are in rows, that kind of thing, and we do have help. We engage a local high school that is on our campus. It's called Cypress High School, and we engage those students to come out to the field and help. We engage our local colleges. We're working with UCSC students and soon Cabrillo College students to do internships in the space. And then on top of that, we're engaging our local community. So we have a group of about, it's always growing actually, about 13 people showed up on Monday to help out on the farm, and they all live right in the Live Oak neighborhood, just around the school. And so between the community volunteers, the high school students, and the college internships, we're getting a lot of support to do this space. And then of course we're using a tractor, and machines are a really big support as well.
Yeah, that's who doesn't like to drive a tractor,
Right.
That is super fun. And then like the financial stuff, so we want other communities to be doing this. You happen to have a baseball field defunct in the backyard, essentially. People can use lots, empty lots, right? Or adjacent fields that are fallow. So it just takes ingenuity and creativity and people feeling gutsy enough to ask.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One thing I've noticed is that these school campuses, kind of universally, they are large. These school campuses are many acres. There's a lot of space on these school campuses, and you could often peel off a corner of an acre somewhere on a school campus that is 15 or 20 acre size.
Right, because most of the stuff you're doing are vegetables, I would imagine. You're not growing grains or beans.
Not yet.
Right? Okay. Well, I took a handful of lentils the other day. I was cooking lentils, and some fell off on my counter, and I threw them into one of my houseplants. And then, lo and behold, I'm like, what on earth is growing out of my pot? And I pulled them all out, and there was lentil seeds. I've done that before with beans and garbanzo beans and black beans, and I don't know if you would do that with the kids. You'd have to grow a lot. But to me, it was like a total novelty that here in my jar, in my pantry, I could literally grow so much food. And I've done experiments with cutting, the tops of lettuce off. Like when you grow your lettuce, you harvest it, those lettuces can get replanted and they sprout again. So I'm sure you guys do all that kind of fun garden education stuff.
Yeah, that kind of stuff happens in our garden classrooms.
Right.
And those are the types of activities that happen across the district with the garden educators.
Right. And Jeff, can you share the broccoli situation in the garden? Just remember when I was there, you're like, Jill, this is so exciting. Can you tell our listeners what was so exciting? Because I just geek out on this. Sorry if everyone's not excited about kale.
It's so fun. Yeah. Well, okay. So
we love kale.
One thing to point out is that the season is changing. So I've actually been out there with the tractor and the mower. So things have changed since you came just last week because the rains are starting and we need to get our cover crop in the ground and all that.
Fair.
But right up until just earlier this week, we had the life cycle of the broccoli plant from seeds, producing seeds, little seed pods, all the way down to baby transplants and everything in between. Because broccoli is one of our chosen crops that we want to grow every month of the year and have available every week of the school year, we do what's called successive plantings. And so we do these successions every 2 weeks. I plant 150 broccoli plants in the ground. And so you can, and they're all right in the same block. So you can see them one succession after another, and you can really see the life cycle of the plant, all from baby all the way up to seed. And it's kind of fun.
Isn't that fun? Don't the kids love that? Because to me, that's where like reality comes in, full color. So people can see like broccoli is not just frozen chunks in Trader Joe's, right?
Yeah.
They can see actually where it comes from.
And this is one of the crops that we have actually successfully been able to produce enough for the school district.
Right.
So when choosing what crops to grow, there are some crops we're saying, okay, we're going to grow 100% of our needs of this crop.
I see.
And other ones, it's like, oh, we're going to grow some, but you're going to have to buy some. And so you'll supplement through purchasing elsewhere, but we'll have some from our own farm. The two crops that we've landed on that we want to grow 100% are broccoli and carrots. And we've been able to do that for the most part. Gapping is a thing where you have broccoli plants, but they're not ready to harvest yet we need it this week. And it won't be ready to pick till next week, so that's called gapping. You have it, but it's just not ready when you need it.
Right.
And so, but we've been able to kind of navigate that, and we've done pretty good with those 2 crops. I would say, of course, I'm the grower.
Yeah, I would say there was a lot of work leading up to that, where while the field was still had cover crop last year, Jeff and I were working together and like seeing what the ordering was like. And since Jeff saw that all from like last year's school year, he was like, well, I think I can actually grow this amount of broccoli. And so this year so far, he's been able to accomplish that. And broccoli is another good example too, because actually the kids like it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Sometimes if you just hammer a kid with carrots, they're not going to be super happy, but you serve broccoli every week, maybe twice a week, and they're pretty happy to eat that.
Yeah, this is exciting because broccoli is such a beautiful plant to grow, and when you're blowing my mind with the 2,000, so that's a lot of broccoli and other vegetables that you want to be growing, right? So what's the future? So you guys are going to expand the garden, you're going to keep it as it is, because we've got a few minutes left. You want to share where people can find you or more resources?
Well, I'll just quickly say that I think that the future for us and our program is, of course, we're going to dial in the crops and the amount and all that, but the real future is that student experience and that educational piece. There is so much room to grow in providing tastings to students, providing that universal messaging that the students would get, whether it's in the classroom, in the cafeteria, in the garden classroom, all over campus. If you're getting the same message around being excited about the fruits and vegetables that are in the cafeteria and all the fun little educational tidbits that go with that, that's really the growth for us going forward. And we can dial in on the different crops and how much and how little and all that, but that educational student experience piece is really the next frontier.
Right.
Yeah, right?
Juliet?
Yeah, and I just kind of wanted to circle back a little bit on what other people can take from this, what other school districts can learn, or like what they can do to get this started at their districts. And I think it takes a lot of creativity. I think that's something that Kelsey has really shined in, is being creative with our program and getting resources wherever we can. So, of course, there's like grants and fundings and things like that we apply for, but also, like Jeff mentioned, we have interns that come and help. And so just kind of using interns, students, we're everything that the Food Lab kids do is scratch cooking. So they help us with our scratch cooking program. They're the ones who make, every week we have a seasonal muffin. They're our muffin masters. They make all our muffins every week. So things like that, just making use with what you have, because we do work within a very, very tight budget in school food. The government is not super generous with us.
I think it's like a couple dollars per kid, right?
Yeah. So it's about $6, like $5 for lunch, and about like $4 for breakfast.
Right.
And that includes the meal, the labor, any equipment. All of that has to fall into that reimbursement. So yeah,
So
getting
creativity,
creativity
is the key, and engaging the community, it sounds like.
exactly.
For labor, resources, farm, food.
Yeah, and I also want to add some of the other organizations that Kelsey's brought into the coalition, if you will, working with an organization called Chef Ann Foundation. They send interns into school district food programs, finding Brigade and a trained chef such as Scott, working with an organization called Food Corps.
Nice.
They're on a little bit of a pause right now, but we're hoping they'll come back into
Right.
existence. Again, pulling together all those different resources that are out there for everyone. Everyone can use
100%.
those.
And legislation and everything, right? So this is great. So we've got Jeff, Scott, and Juliet in from Live Oak School District in Santa Cruz County, California. And I'm your host, Jill Trotterman, on Feeding the Family. And before we go, I do want to share a couple things related to our topic. Number one, I don't know if you guys know, but there is a National Farm to School Network conference. It's in New Mexico. So I'm kind of wanting to go, but I don't think I'll probably make that. But that's happening. So it is happening around the country, this kind of stuff. And also, I just wanted to share with our listeners that I am hosting a 6-week parent nutrition series on my program called The Food Tree. So it's the Food Tree Holistic Nutrition 101. So this is the basics of macronutrients, learning about proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and my motto is create a diet as unique as you. As we were talking to this lovely crew, that people eat all different kinds of foods from all over cuisines around the planet, and what a thrill that is. So curating the foods that you enjoy for yourself, for your family, for your schools, and keep exploring, be open-minded. So I am hosting that class, and it starts January 20th, and it runs for 6 weeks. And so I hope folks can go to my website and join that. My website is santacruzholisticnutrition.com. And there's just a lot of exciting things that are going on right now in the world with food. I don't really talk about politics, but there are some really exciting things going on in the government, because some people really do want to make changes. And so we're just going to keep it really high level and keep visioning the world that we do want to create. And we have so many beautiful kids and parents and families and community to keep supporting that. So, again, this is Jill Trotterman signing off. So, goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for coming on the show, everybody. And we will catch up with everybody next time. My next show is next Wednesday. So, tune in 3 p.m. SantaCruzVoice.com.